Look at this map of the 15th century Atlantic. For generations, the historical baseline has been simple. In 1492, Christopher Columbus crossed this ocean, landed in the Americas, and linked the hemispheres. But half a millennium earlier, a completely different crossing was already underway in the freezing, violent waters of the North Atlantic. Around the year 1000 CE, Norse explorer Leif Erikson navigated these storms, arriving at a North American coastline he named Vinland, which creates a massive historical contradiction. If the Vikings crossed the ocean and built a settlement 500 years before Columbus, why didn't they claim the continent, and why did the rest of the globe forget them? Fast forward to 1960. In Meadows, Newfoundland, researchers unearthed the remnants of these turf-covered longhouses. In the surrounding dirt, archaeologists found iron ship nails, a bronze ring-headed pin, and evidence of iron smelting. These specific items matched Norse manufacturing techniques perfectly, eliminating the possibility that they belonged to indigenous populations or later European arrivals. This map traces the Norse expansion westward. They established footholds in Iceland, pushed further to colonize Greenland, and eventually navigated the Davis Strait to drop anchor right here on the Canadian coast. Decades of physical excavation confirm what the ancient Norse sagas had claimed all along. Europeans lived and worked in the Americas centuries before the Spanish or British arrived. So they had the maritime technology to cross the Atlantic and the skills to build a functional settlement. The logical question is why they didn't stay to expand their territory. Look at this diagram detailing their supply line. Vinland was positioned thousands of miles from the established Norse trade hubs in Scandinavia. Every iron tool, piece of lumber, and backup food source had to be ferried across one of the most dangerous oceans on Earth. That fragile connection was severely tested by the local environment. Winters on this rocky coastline were deeply unforgiving, freezing the waters and limiting their ability to forage or farm. Beyond the brutal climate, the Viking settlers faced immediate, violent resistance from the indigenous populations already living there. With fewer than 100 settlers on the ground, the Norse lacked the manpower to defend their position in a prolonged conflict. Their failure to colonize the area had nothing to do with maritime skill or bravery. It was an impossible math problem, combining vast distances, brutal freezing weather, and active local resistance. Recognizing that a permanent outpost was unsustainable, the Norse leadership made a practical calculation. They loaded their remaining supplies, boarded their ships, and prepared to leave. As they sailed east, back toward the safety of Greenland, the physical link between the two continents was severed. The Vinland settlement ultimately became an isolated event. It stands as an incredible feat of human endurance and navigation, but one that led to zero geopolitical expansion. Which brings us back to Christopher Columbus and his expedition in 1492. When Columbus arrived, he had something the Vikings never did: geopolitical backing. Late 15th century Europe was experiencing rapid population growth, deploying advanced naval technology, and consolidating the immense wealth required to fund permanent, state-sponsored expansion. This visualization shows the difference. The Norse relied on a single, fragile string to Greenland, but European powers laid down dense, compounding trade routes. Look at them multiplying. This permanent flow of ships carried goods, weapons, and populations back and forth, triggering irreversible global shifts. Columbus's voyage stuck because he was the vanguard of an entire civilization organized and funded for global integration. Leif Erikson, operating centuries prior, was effectively an isolated explorer at the very edge of the known world. So what does it actually mean to discover a continent in the context of human history? Leif Erikson and his brave crew were undeniably the first Europeans to leave physical footprints in North American soil. But Columbus forced open a door between two halves of the globe that would never close again. Our accepted historical timeline is built on impact, not mere arrival. History remembers the voyages that leave lasting, world-altering consequences in their wake.